In the journey of life, we all face moments where we try to control everything around us. We grasp tightly to our plans, our desires, and our fears, believing that if we just hold on long enough, we can shape the world to our will. But what if the secret to true peace, to real success, isn't found in holding tighter, but in letting go? When we trust God, we release our need to control every outcome. Letting go isn't about giving up, it's about surrendering the illusion that we are the ones who must carry the weight of the world. There is a greater power, a deeper wisdom, guiding us. And when we open our hearts to that truth, life unfolds in ways we could never have imagined. It's hard, I know. Letting go feels like stepping into the unknown. But isn't it in the unknown where miracles happen? Isn't it in the space of trust where God steps in and does what only God can do? Faith isn't about seeing the whole staircase before we take the first step. It's about trusting that with each step the path will become clearer, and that we will be led exactly where we need to go. When we let go, we allow God to work. We take our hands off the wheel and say, "I trust you," and in that moment of surrender, something powerful happens. Peace replaces anxiety, hope replaces fear, and strength replaces weakness. We realize that we were never meant to carry it all on our own. We were always meant to walk in partnership with the one who knows our hearts and holds our futures. Life constantly reminds us that we are not in control of everything. As we navigate through its highs and lows, we come to understand that holding on too tightly often causes unnecessary stress and anxiety. The real journey is learning to release control and embrace trust in something greater than ourselves. It's about recognizing that there is a divine plan at work, guiding us through every step, even when we can't see the full picture. When we think of letting go, we often associate it with failure or giving up. But in reality, letting go is not about quitting. It's about surrendering our limited perspective for a higher purpose. It's about realizing that there's a divine plan that's far more powerful than our own. By surrendering, we allow this plan to unfold in ways that serve our ultimate good, even if it doesn't make sense at the moment. Our efforts can only take us so far. There are moments in life when no matter how hard we try, we hit a wall. That's when trusting God becomes essential. Faith has the power to open doors that human strength and intellect cannot. When we trust in something greater than ourselves, we tap into a divine force that can move mountains and create opportunities beyond our wildest dreams. Fear arises when we attempt to control situations that are beyond our reach. The tighter we hold on to control, the more anxious we become. It's like trying to hold on to water; it slips through our fingers, no matter how hard we try. The antidote to fear is letting go and trusting that everything will unfold as it should. By releasing control, we create space for peace to enter our hearts and minds. Faith isn't required when we're able to manage every detail of our lives. It's when we reach the end of our control, when we stand on the edge of uncertainty, that faith truly begins. Faith is the courage to step into the unknown, trusting that God will carry us through. It's knowing that even though we can't see the way forward, God has already paved the path ahead. We often associate strength with relentless effort, with striving and pushing ourselves to the limit. But true strength lies in knowing when to surrender. It takes more courage to let go of control than to keep fighting a losing battle. When we surrender to God, we tap into a strength that is far greater than anything we could ever muster on our own. In that surrender, we find the power to overcome. Fear blocks blessings. When we cling to fear, we close ourselves off from the possibilities God has in store for us. Letting go of fear is an act of faith. It's trusting that God will work in our lives, even in the midst of uncertainty. When we release our fears and let God take control, we invite divine intervention into every situation, allowing miraculous changes to unfold. We can spend years crafting the perfect plan for our lives, but sometimes things just don't go as we expected. However, while our plans may fail, God's plans never do. He sees the bigger picture, and His ways are higher than ours. Trusting in God's plan means believing that when things don't go our way, it's because something even better is on the horizon. There is purpose in every detour and delay. When we're busy trying to control every detail of our lives, we often miss the miracles unfolding around us. Letting go creates space for God to move in ways we never anticipated. It's in surrender that we see the impossible become possible. When we release our grip, we open ourselves to divine surprises, to blessings that far exceed our expectations. Miracles happen when we trust and allow God to work. Anxiety thrives when we rely solely on our own understanding and ability to control the future. But trust is the bridge that leads us from anxiety to peace. When we place our trust in God, we shift our focus from what could go wrong to the belief that everything will work out according to His plan. That trust doesn't just eliminate fear, it brings a deep, unshakable peace that calms our hearts no matter the storm. We often convince ourselves that we can control every aspect of our lives, our careers, relationships, and even our future. But the truth is, control is an illusion. Life is unpredictable, and there are many factors beyond our grasp. While our control may be limited, God's power is limitless. When we trust in that power, we experience peace, knowing that God is in control of everything that concerns us. Imagine life as a massive puzzle. We only see a few pieces at a time, but God sees the entire picture. He knows every twist and turn, every high and low that we will face. Even when things don't make sense in the moment, we can trust that God has already drawn the map of our lives. He knows where we're headed and how to get us there in the best possible way. Many of us are searching for meaning and purpose, but we try to achieve it through our own strength. The key to unlocking a life of true purpose isn't found in striving, but in surrendering to God's will. When we let go of our own agenda and align with His plan, we find fulfillment in places we never expected. Purpose is not created by us, it's discovered when we trust the path God has set for us. Some may view surrendering control as a weakness, but trusting God is the wisest decision we can make. It takes courage and wisdom to admit that we don't have all the answers and that we need divine guidance. A life of trust is not passive, it's powerful. It allows us to move forward with confidence, knowing that we are supported by a power far greater than ourselves. The unknown can be terrifying, but it's also where God performs His greatest miracles. When we let go of the need to know every step of the way, we open ourselves to God's best work in our lives. The unknown is where faith grows, where we learn to trust that God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating everything for our good. In that space of uncertainty, God turns possibilities into reality. When we hold on to control, we often feel stressed, anxious, and overwhelmed. But peace comes when we release the control and place it in God's hands. In that space of surrender, we stop striving, and a calmness takes over. We begin to trust that everything is unfolding as it should. Letting go doesn't remove the challenges, but it allows us to face them with a heart at peace, knowing God is in charge. Anxiety stems from fear of the unknown and the belief that we must figure everything out on our own. But when we trust that God is in control, our anxiety begins to fade. It's not that the challenges disappear, it's that we shift our focus from the problem to the one who can solve it. Trusting God replaces our anxiety with a deep sense of assurance that we are never alone and that God is guiding us every step of the way. When we let go of our need to control, we invite divine guidance into every aspect of our lives, our careers, relationships, health, and dreams. It's like opening a door and allowing God's wisdom to flow in. Surrendering doesn't mean we stop taking action, it means we allow God to lead the way. With His guidance, we find ourselves on the path that brings us closer to the life we were meant to live. One of the hardest things to accept is that God's timing is not always our timing. We may want things to happen now, but God knows the perfect moment to act. His timing is always perfect, even when we feel like we've been waiting forever. Trusting in His timing means having patience and faith, believing that He knows what's best for us. Sometimes the delay is not denial, it's preparation for something greater. To trust God is to embrace the unknown with confidence. It's about stepping into situations where you don't have all the answers, but knowing that God does. The unknown is not a place to fear, but a space to grow. With every step of faith, we build confidence that God will provide, protect, and lead us in the right direction. The unknown becomes less intimidating when we know that God is with us every step of the way. Life can be overwhelming when we try to carry every burden on our shoulders. We often feel like we have to solve every problem, meet every expectation, and plan for every possible outcome. But when we release control and trust God, we release the weight of those burdens. We no longer have to figure everything out by ourselves. Instead, we let go, allowing God to lift those heavy loads and guide us to where we need to be. Chaos and uncertainty are inevitable in life. But faith isn't about avoiding the chaos, it's about trusting that even in the middle of it, God is still working for our good. When things seem out of control, God is still in control. He is weaving together a plan, even when we can't see it. Faith is the belief that nothing is wasted, and that every situation, no matter how difficult, serves a higher purpose in God's grand design. We all want to find our purpose and walk the path that is meant for us. But sometimes we get lost in trying to control the outcome of every situation. When we surrender to God's will, we stop chasing our own agenda and allow God to reveal the path we were always meant to take. It's in surrender that we align with our true purpose and discover the peace and fulfillment that come with following God's plan. We often place the burden of results on ourselves, believing that we must control every aspect of life's outcomes. But the truth is, we are not responsible for the outcome. God is. Our responsibility lies in trusting Him, in taking steps of faith, and in letting go of the need to predict how everything will turn out. When we trust, we place the results in God's hands, knowing He will bring about the best possible outcome for our lives. There are so many things in life that are beyond our control: other people's actions, certain circumstances, and even the future. But while we can't control everything, we can trust the one who controls it all. When we let go of the need to manage everything ourselves, we acknowledge that God is in control. Trusting Him allows us to live with peace, knowing that whatever happens, it is in the hands of the one who knows best. So many of us long for peace, but we often seek it in the wrong places through control, perfectionism, or external success. True peace doesn't come from external circumstances, it comes from trust. The peace we seek lies on the other side of letting go, of surrendering our worries to God and trusting that He will handle the details. When we trust in God's plan, we stop worrying about the unknown, and that is where true peace begins. Fear often stems from the unknown, from the things we can't predict or control. But when we surrender, fear transforms into faith. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, we start trusting that everything will work out for the best. Surrendering doesn't eliminate challenges, but it changes how we face them. Instead of being driven by fear, we are driven by faith that God is guiding us through every difficulty. God is always ahead of us. Even when we don't see it, He has already prepared the way for us. Trusting God means believing that every step we take has been divinely orchestrated, that the path has already been cleared. It's the confidence that whatever lies ahead, God has already gone before us, making sure we will have everything we need to succeed. We just need to trust and follow. Sometimes, in our efforts to control every outcome, we unknowingly block the blessings that God wants to pour into our lives. Holding on too tightly to our own plans and desires limits what we can receive. But when we let go, we make room for God to bring in new opportunities, unexpected blessings, and greater abundance. By loosening our grip, we allow the flow of blessings to reach us, often in ways we never imagined. The unknown can be frightening. We worry about what might happen or what challenges may lie ahead. But faith allows us to release that fear. When we trust that God is in control, we no longer need to fear what we cannot see. Faith reassures us that God will take care of every detail, even the ones we don't understand. In faith, we let go of fear and embrace the unknown as an opportunity for growth, knowing that God will always guide us through. It takes true courage to surrender to God's will. Often we think that holding on and controlling every aspect of life is a sign of strength. However, real strength lies in trusting God enough to let go of our need to control. Surrender is not about giving up, but about placing our trust in God's wisdom. It's courageous to release our fears and desires, and to allow God to lead us in ways we may not understand yet. When we cling too tightly to our own plans, we often block the opportunities God has in store for us. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning our goals, it means making space for God to work in ways that are beyond our comprehension. By releasing our need to control, we invite God to step in and do what only He can do, transforming situations, opening doors, and guiding us towards something even greater than we imagined. We often feel impatient when things don't happen on our timeline, but God's timing is never too early or too late. It is always perfect. Even when we don't understand the delays, we can trust that God is working behind the scenes, arranging things for our ultimate good. Every season of waiting is a season of preparation. When we trust in His timing, we find peace in knowing that God's plan is unfolding exactly when it should. Our desire to control everything around us often comes from a place of fear of the unknown, fear of failure, or fear of loss. But trust is the antidote to fear. Trust is rooted in faith, in the belief that God is in control and will provide for our needs. When we shift from fear-based control to faith-based trust, we free ourselves from anxiety and step into a life of greater peace and freedom. We all have dreams and ambitions, but sometimes we limit ourselves by clinging to our own vision of success. In surrendering to God, we often discover that His plans for us are far greater than anything we could have envisioned. His perspective is eternal, and He knows what is best for us in the long run. By letting go of our small plans, we open ourselves to the bigger, more fulfilling life that God has prepared for us. When we hold on too tightly to our own plans, we often miss the opportunities God has placed before us. Letting go doesn't mean we abandon our goals, but we trust that God will take us even further than we could on our own. God's path might look different than what we envisioned, but it will lead to greater heights, deeper fulfillment, and more meaningful success than we could ever achieve through our efforts alone. We often want to know every step of the journey before we take the first one. But trusting God isn't about having all the answers up front. It's about knowing that God is the one leading us and that He will guide us every step of the way. Even when the path seems unclear, we can move forward in faith, knowing that God knows the way and His guidance is perfect. Surrender is not about limitation, it's about expansion. When we surrender our need for control, we open ourselves to greater possibilities than we could ever imagine. God has plans for us that exceed our expectations, and when we trust Him, we unlock the potential for those possibilities to manifest in our lives. Surrendering to God's will allows us to step into opportunities, blessings, and experiences that we would have never considered on our own. When we live in fear, we feel trapped, always trying to anticipate what could go wrong, always preparing for the worst. But trusting God brings a sense of freedom. We no longer have to worry about every detail or carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. Trust frees us from the burden of fear and anxiety, allowing us to live fully, with confidence that God is in control and has our best interests at heart. The greatest breakthroughs happen when we let go and allow God to take over. In situations where we feel stuck, God is able to make the impossible possible. Miracles happen when we surrender our doubts and fears, trusting that God can work in ways beyond our understanding. When we let go of control, we give God the space to perform the extraordinary and turn our biggest challenges into incredible victories.